Ryan, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to have you back talking about this brand new show that I absolutely love.
Oh, thank you.
What was it like getting back in the swing of things in front of the camera?
Well, to be honest, I never felt like I stopped.
Right.
Like, we started $1 Million Listing New York on Bravo. We started filming that show in 2010.
I know.
It premiered in 2012, and for the most part, we only ever had a couple months of no camera time, because the cameras on a Bravo reality show are up like
All the time.
for that type of show. Or like, we had one season where we filmed for 1 year, because it takes a long time for properties to move and all that. And so we filmed until 2022. Right, because it was 10 years.
Okay.
Then I did Sell It Like Serhant. I did my wedding show. I did my renovation show right there at the end. That came out in 2022. And then I started my own company, and that didn't make sense for $1 Million Listing anymore. So it was kind of this like limbo period. And so I created a presentation about what a new show could look like. I took it everywhere, and then went with Netflix in the spring of 2022.
Wow.
And we took a year to kind of create what is now Owning Manhattan on Netflix. And then we shot all through 2023, and now here we are. It came out, so it's just been like this train, but it's fun. The process of creating a Netflix show is so different.
Is it?
It is wildly different.
How so?
It's I love Bravo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without them.
Sure, of course.
But there was structure. Like, there is, like, I think just given the nature of the beast, right? It's cable television. You have streaming now, but like cable TV, you have advertisers, you have commercial breaks, right? You have, okay, we got to make an episode that people will tune in next week to, which is a different vibe than watch it now. And so all that structure meant that, like, there were certain things we couldn't really play with. Netflix really allowed us to play. You know, I'm a producer on it as well, and really said, you know, if you want to go and create something no one's seen before, in as much as reality TV goes, like, you know, if you've watched it, like the voiceover and the orchestra and the story and the way, like, all 8 episodes almost play out like kind of one documentary.
Totally.
Like, you can't do on cable. And so that whole thing, plus the crew was insane, everything was just wild. And it was just bigger.
It was bigger,
It was just...
Even like the shots of everything is beautiful.
Yeah,
like
it's just crazy.
No, but you make a good point. It is more like a documentary style that kind of flows, you know, like an 8-hour documentary, which I think is so fun. What I love is that when I was doing my research and everything, I was like, I didn't realize that when you first got started, like, you went to an open casting call, gave yourself a 30-second pitch, and like, here you are today. Do you remember what you said in that 30-second?
Oh yeah, I have core memory of embarrassment. They said, you're right, because I was doing rentals in the city, and there was a casting call for, you know, the best real estate agents under 35, I think, in New York City at the time. This was 2010 in March. And I was like, oh, that's me. I've been doing it for like a year. And so I just went, and there was 3,000 agents who showed up over the course, I think, of those 2 days. And then you had 30 seconds to go on tape. And there's just a casting director who was like, why are you here? And all that stuff. And the specific questions, I think logistically, like, one was, so how do you get around New York City? And I had like my Metro card in my pocket, but I just went straight to, they're not going to cast the guy with the Metro card. If I get cast on this show, I'm gonna have to become like future Ryan. So black car by day, Range Rover by night.
I love it.
And I'd never driven in New York City before at all, which screwed me later when they whittled it all down, and they was like, okay, great, we're gonna come and follow you. So are you picking us up, or are we meeting? And I was like, oh, shit. So I had to go find this guy in my office. His name was Dave, and I knew he had a Range Rover.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And I was like, Dave, I need a solid. Could I use your Range Rover? And he's like, for what? I'm like, so there's this thing, and it's like this whole thing, and I'd never driven before, but he was nice enough and allowed me to drive his Range Rover for a day. And he's like, listen, here's the rule of the road in New York City. Just go. There is no defensive driving. It's only offensive. And I, you know, grew up in Boston. I went to college in upstate New York. I'm like, I'm used to waiting on people. Just go. And I think the LA casting directors and everyone who were filming in the back seat, halfway through that day, they got out of the car and they were like, this guy is insane. And then I had to play into being insane because I'd never driven before, and it became a whole thing. They also asked me in that interview, like, what's your favorite animal? And I went, if I say dog,
they're not gonna
cast me. If I say shark, everyone's gonna say shark. And so I went alphabetical, and I said aardvark. which I'm pretty sure is AAR, I think. If it's not, it's just AR. But I think they thought I was so weird. And I was like, yeah, man, who likes ants anyway? And they, and that's how I'm here now.
That's hysterical. Well, hey, it all paid off. It all worked out.
Yeah.
That's really, really funny.
Good times.
Good times. Going into this show, were you ever hesitant? Because it seems like, obviously real estate shows are everywhere now. And a lot of people are loving them. They're really consuming them. This is obviously very different, but going into it, were you nervous that people were going to be like, oh no, here's another real estate show?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my fear was, it's crazy to think that this is how I felt now given the reaction, but there's too much real estate now. Like when Million Dollar Listing New York happened, there was HGTV.
Yeah.
And then there was Million Dollar Listing New York, there's Million Dollar Listing LA, and then we were the New York one, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like there was, if you wanted to see inside beautiful homes in New York, you had to come to New York, right? Or watch MTV Cribs if they ever came to New York. Like there wasn't, that voyeuristic opportunity literally didn't exist. There was no Instagram, didn't exist. There was no video on Facebook yet. There's no TikTok, none of this stuff. So the world changed a lot. Now you had a lot of copycat shows, spin-offs, all that stuff. Netflix started doing unscripted. They have their own version, like Selling Sunset, and their shows are they're not Million Dollar Listing. They're their own thing, So I was nervous that people didn't want to watch more real estate, even though New York is so special and so unique. I was also nervous that just given the climate of the world, do people really want to watch me run a business in New York City where everyone's fighting and arguing about money and deals and $200 million penthouses? Does the world have an appetite for that right now? I really didn't know, and I was nervous about it. And turns out people like it.
Yeah,
so,
turns out it worked out. Is it frustrating for you as a agent seeing any of these other shows like Selling Sunset? We just did this big spread in our magazine about how much some of these agents might actually make, and some of the women on Selling Sunset probably don't make as much as you make because it's not their full-time job.
Sure.
Does that frustrate you at all, being somebody that obviously does this full-time for a living?
I mean, I've been doing this a long time now, so I appreciate the shows. I'm not, obviously, I'm not one of the people who look at these reality TV shows and say, oh, I meet real estate agents all the time now who are great, who have good lives and great families, and they get back to their community, and then they're like, hey, I was going to be a X, and then reading your book or watching your show, I totally changed my career path. I moved from Michigan to New York City, and now I'm in real estate, and thank you so much. So I think these TV shows take careers and put them at scale to a mass audience to say, hey, this is also possible for you. Yeah. So for all the people who I think do say that reality TV is bad for industry, I always ask those people, okay, if you think owning Manhattan is bad for New York City real estate and agents and the business, explain to me what you've done every day for 10 years to help inner city school kids know that your job is possible for them. And without fail, they have no answer. Sure. So at least I know, and we do a lot of work with inner city school, but I could create a show like this. Our cast can be the most diverse of any agency in all of New York as a real depiction of what New York looks like. And I'm going to show all the bad as well, all the ugly as well, including my own life. And I'm going to make sure we put it on a global platform that literally anybody can see. Yeah. So to show that anything is possible, and so I don't even know what your question was, but I do really appreciate how a show like this can open up the eyes of millions and millions of people around the world. Do I appreciate when people say they make money that they don't? Not really. I mean, our show is pretty realistic. Yeah. Which is something I didn't intend to do, but showing the hiring and firing of people ended up just happening. Yeah. And that was a tough one to say, are we going to do this? Are we not going to do this? Our camera's going to be here. What do I do? People quit on me mid-season. Yeah. Brutal.
But that's reality.
It is.
Yeah, that's what happens.
I was so nervous about that too. It's people are going to hate us.
No, but I think that what happens in a business. Did Jonathan know going into that?
No.
He had no.
Me neither.
You didn't? Okay.
Jonathan, when I first met him, I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't look like anyone I've ever seen in this business. I cannot wait until you sell a $20 million apartment and you prove everyone wrong. And he said something to me at the beginning when I first met him, not about the show, because he was an agent at our company, that I really, really, really liked was, he's like, hi, my name is Jonathan Normale, and I know that I have 5 seconds to change your mind. I was like, you are in tune, you understand, right? You have to have like that inner dialogue going, and I love that. But you also have to have empathy. And so sometimes,
Watching it back, did it open your eyes to a lot of the things that he was doing behind the scenes that you didn't know about?
Yeah, because I wasn't there.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I have one line. Like there's one thing I said when I brought him to that construction site. And talked to him where I said, you spend so much of your time trying to get noticed instead of trying to be great, that if you just spent half your time trying to be great, you'd be so great, everyone would notice you. And I said that to him. I say that to a lot of younger agents now too, who are growing up on social media, who, for better or worse, they believe now that their value is in being noticed. But if you can't match that value with skill set, then what are you being noticed for?
Right.
Like, what's it really going to do long term? And then you get yourself in tough situations. And so, seeing him behave in certain ways, I think just for me reinforced.
Yeah, you're like, I made the right decision.
Yeah.
It'd
be bad if there was a scene where I was like, wait
a minute, don't. Have you spoken since? I know you've talked about him kind of trying to spin the firing and things like that. I know you talked about that. Has he reached out since the show aired? Have you spoken at all?
No. Not personally.
Yeah.
He came to the premiere part since the show aired. No. No.
Yeah.
I also haven't spoken to Savannah.
Okay.
Maggie, I spoke to this morning. We have a buyer we're working on together, even from before she left. A big buyer where we're trying to do a deal together right now. So we're just talking about comps this morning. And she's great. The others are unique.
Yeah. Savannah, watching how she was treated by Jess and Jonathan, do you understand why she wanted to leave then? Yes and no?
Business is hard. New York is harder.
Yeah.
And the cost of doing business in the city is brutal. Even for an agent. Like I had a team too. And I had young agents who were super hardworking who wanted to be on our team. And I think there were probably moments when I was pretty cutthroat as well. I always handled myself professionally, which is the one thing that I care about here, especially as the boss now. But I think that there is some thick skin that you got to have. Yeah. Like, who cares what people say? Like, if that team doesn't work on, there's other teams. Like, move on, pick yourself up, and only focus on the person in the mirror until you get yourself to a point where you can actually afford to focus on other people.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of that, but I also understand how hard it is, and I have obviously a hard time understanding exactly what it's like to be a girl in the city.
Yeah.
And to go through that process. Like Netflix even did. I want to say security. That's the wrong word, but there was they spend a lot of time talking about mental health before a show comes out. Even for me too, it was interesting because when shows air on Bravo, it takes time. It's out there. Like Netflix it was everywhere in one day, all over the place. Like there are people outside my office right now.
Really? I'm sure you're inundated with applications.
But for women.
Like
for women, and also especially in real estate, like they're doing this show because people reach out and want to buy apartments. Like you have to be super cognizant and cautious and verified. And so, it's definitely a hard business to be in as a woman regardless. And we care about that a lot at the company too. Like our entire security and HR teams very much focused on making sure everyone is happy and healthy. And
definitely. Well, you got some strong women on this cast as well, or that work for you, not the cast, that work for you. Especially Chloe and Jade. We really see them kind of go at it this season, but then they come back together. I did want to, I don't know, who knows, maybe for season 2, maybe we'll see. But I did want to get you to clarify if Chloe did have to beg you to have Jade come on to your agency.
No, I saw that. There's a lot that I don't see, and then I saw it as it played out, in real time, which was wild. No, I think if I remember correctly, Chloe introduced me to Jade because they knew each other, and Jade wanted to come over and do commercial, which I wasn't 100% sold on because we hadn't at that time set up a commercial division, and like just like there's software you need, like there's stuff, there's cost, there's expense, like it's a different. It's like heart surgery and brain surgery, like the same body, but very different skill sets and systems. So, and then I think she just pitched me on, as in, I don't need a division. Let me prove to you that I can do the deals and use your platform. And then I said, okay, if you're going to write your own ticket, then I'm willing to take that bet. And other than me, she sold the most on the first season than anybody.
Okay.
So that was what I found surprising in watching it back.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, Jade sold that building, and then Jade did that dance.
Sure, yeah. What is it?
In the Union Square video. Yeah. I mean, that reaction that they showed me was very much my reaction of like, be a CEO. Be a CEO. If this works for the listing, great.
Sure.
And then immediately leave. And she sold it from that.
Did she? She knows what she's doing then.
I know, it's crazy. So proud of her. Also, what?
Yeah. So Jade sold the most. Who was kind of next? Can you divulge that or?
Well, Ryan sold the most.
Yes. Well, Ryan sold the most. Yes.
Then Jade. Then Niall.
Okay.
And then there's so many of them. And then probably Jeff and Trisha.
Okay.
Because I also gave her that building,
right,
which is a lot. And then it kind of scatters out from there. Like I didn't even know that Chloe was pregnant until way later.
Really? So, she kept it hidden.
Yeah, because
for a while?
we have a clubhouse in Soho.
Okay.
Other than that, our agents, I mean, our entire company across all the 8 states we're in now, agents are, they operate on their own. They work from their car, they work from home, they work from listings.
Yeah.
So I don't see everybody all the time the way you would like pre-COVID office setting, where I would say, hey, you look different. So I didn't see it until way later. And it's funny because a lot of those interview clips on the show, because they edit and then they ask you questions.
Yep.
She
looks different.
Pregnant.
It was funny. I was watching like the last one before, or like one of them, and I'm like, she's definitely pregnant. And like 20 minutes later, she's like, I'm pregnant. That's funny. Speaking of kids, how's your daughter doing?
She's good. She's in Greece. They're in Greece right now. They're living it up,
Good.
Swimming, eating octopus, doing the whole thing.
Living her best life.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And what I love, I think that I might steal your idea, is like setting up an email. And like emailing your daughter.
Yeah,
I love that so much. What's the last email that you sent?
I think the last email I sent was she sent it because she doesn't know that I email her. I don't think she can't. That's too complicated. But she knows that Daddy sends a lot of emails. And I think if you were to ask her, what does your Daddy do? She would say email, which also is like a very meta way for me to think about my life. Of like, is that right?
Yeah.
I should fix this. Anyway, she sits, we have a home office, and so she sits on my lap, and then she says, do you want to do emails? And so the last one I sent to her was like, do you want to send yourself an email?
Yeah.
She totally forgot about it since, but it's like very ridiculous.
Sure, yeah.
But she can type her name now.
That's great.
It takes her a while to find it, but she can type her full name. She knows where she lives. We typed out like New York. So she'll, I don't know. I don't know what age I'll give it to her. Like in my brain, it was 18, but I feel like that's a long time.
Sure, yeah. That is
like, am I really going to be sending her emails when she's 14?
Right,
You're like,
can't believe you
shut up downstairs. You just made all this noise. Stop that boy. Who cares about him?
Right, exactly.
And then she's 18. She's like, Dad, you have problems.
That's really funny. I love that so much. How do you feel about her going into kindergarten?
I'm glad she made it. It's tough. The New York City school process is so much worse than even I knew. And I'm like in the real estate business. I deal with clients moving. I sell $40 million apartments on the west side to people who are buying $30 million apartments on the east side because they just don't want their kids to cross the park to go to school. So I'm in the school business as much as I'm in the real estate business in New York City, and it is a wild one. It is so crazy and nuts, but she's going to go to a great school. I think that'll be great for her and kids like her, and it'll be good.
That's exciting. And Amelia's doing good?
Yeah, I think so. They're in Greece.
Oh, right.
Or they're 7 hours ahead. I wake up, I touch base once a day, basically, and we do our FaceTime and stuff, and they're on the beach living their best life, and I'm like putting a suit on in the heat, and it's sweaty and smelly, and someone's yelling at me, and I'm like, I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Whatever happened to Central Park? the
there.
penthouse.
It's
It's still there. Okay, I
195.
kept looking, and I'm like, so who has the listing there?
I mean, the developer.
The developer.
Yeah,
okay.
the developer. Yeah, we took it off the market for the summer.
Okay.
I mean, it's $195 million.
Yeah.
I just put it all over the world.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, have you gotten a lot more interested in it now?
Well,
Yeah.
well, yes, real interest, which has been kind of exactly what I was
Sure,
looking
yeah.
for. Also, a significant amount of insane people.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's hard. People are great at faking their identity these days.
I'm sure,
Like
yeah.
fake emails, fake documents, fake passports, mass disguises. It is
Nuts.
nuts. Like the con artists who pretend to have money in real estate in New York who are just trying to impress a girl or something.
Yeah.
Like you'd be surprised.
I'm sure.
It's all the time.
It's insane. You got to be. I'm sure you have to be very, very careful. Do you still? Are you still in touch with any of the $1 Million Listing agents?
I talked to Luis
Okay. How's he
Ortiz
doing?
here and there. He's good. He's in music school in Puerto Rico.
For him.
Yep. I tried to get him to come up to our premiere party for this as like a surprise.
Sure.
But I think he had like a music class or something. I don't know.
Love that.
So he's doing that. Steve, we were just together a couple weeks ago. Our daughters
fun.
are the same age.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so they do play dates and stuff.
Nice.
Frederick, I last spoke to, I think in January.
Okay.
He's bouncing around the country doing his thing.
Yeah. Have a good relationship with him, or is it just
don't-
catch up here and there?
Like, do I have friends in general? I don't know. Like, I wouldn't say I catch up with
Sure.
any of them. We just sort of do our thing. I mean, listen, we're in a competitive business.
All right. Do you ever
know?
sell? I know that you said that recently you sold like a property in Palm Beach for like $130 million. Did you
Yeah.
send that to him and be like, gotcha?
No, it's all pretty public.
Yeah, right.
He sells a lot. There's
Yeah,
no.
no, he does.
He has no concerns.
Sure, he's gonna. And I know Tracy was on Watch What Happens Live the other night, and she said that she was really excited for you, and so that's got to feel good too.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. So yeah, they better be excited. Yeah, yeah. Listen, I do feel like I've graduated a little.
Yeah.
Like when you see, I mean, I can't talk about it, but like the amount of people that watch this show, even in the first 2 weeks,
Yeah.
compared to other platforms, is like it's just crazy.
It is.
And so I don't know, I just feel super lucky and very, very fortunate that we have this opportunity and to grow a global client base and fan base. It's been super fun.
Yeah, I know you were at number 6 in New York. Where are you at now?
Number 6.
There's-
Thanks.
I'm
Thanks.
I'm sure it
I'm
will
working
change.
on it.
I'm sure
Do you
it will
know-
change after this.
Do you understand though? Like to go. So I went from number 0 to number 11 when we started the company,
Sure.
and then 11 to 6, which was
Big
great
jump.
because then I get to beat everybody.
Sure.
The top 5 though are like 6,000 years old, and I have to do so much business to beat them. They focus on that on the show. And
Right,
it's like, oh man,
like,
I say
really?
this one time.
Right, now
and
it's my
I'm like,
whole story.
Yeah, I've got like a number painted on my back.
Right? Are you a big fan of Buying Beverly Hills as well? Or are you and Mauricio?
Yeah, Mauricio is awesome. The
Yeah.
agency's great. We're obviously competitors, kind of.
Sure.
Like we're kind of in a couple similar markets, but very different businesses.
Sure.
But he's always been a friend and been super nice to me, and
Yeah.
I love his daughters, and they're super cool, and their show is fun and totally different, right?
Yeah,
It's like a family.
totally different.
It's like a family drama set in real estate. Selling Sunset is like housewives set in real
Yes.
estate, and Owning Manhattan is like, I don't know. It's a little. I said this once, and I'll stick to it. Where it's like a little Vanderpump.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little Lisa Vanderpump.
Totally,
kind
yes, I
of,
can see it.
Kind of, right? But I'm also pouring drinks at the same time. So I'm a little Lisa Vanderpump. It's a little $1 Million Listing, and that's New York and deals and
Yeah.
like real deals, and we focus on the deals. Mixed with like Succession Billions
Yes,
kind of vibe.
Totally.
Like there is a like.
Well, we got the Succession apartment at the end.
Yeah. Surprise ending.
Yeah, surprise
You
ending.
can't do surprise endings on Bravo.
No, you can't.
It wouldn't fit. And to do that, that was my favorite moment of the
Yeah.
whole show. No spoilers, but like the show is over. You're at episode
Yes.
8. It's over. There's a party. They're doing like the cast wrap up on
Right.
screen. And then a phone call comes in, and the show keeps going, and you're like, but
wait.
where's he going? What's happening right now? What kind of reality show is this?
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, it is a great reality show, Ryan, and I'm so excited for you. It's great catching up, and
Thank you.
Can't wait for season number 2.
I don't know.
Yes, I'm sure it will be. It's a huge hit. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's great seeing you.
Of course.